All right. Hey, everybody. It's Mrs. Edwards. Um, so we have A Dark Inheritance, chapter 9 today. So here's my screen. I'm going to get right to it. It's 14 minutes long. So let's begin.
Chapter 9. Arrest. Suspended? Mom, I swear I didn't do anything. Suspended, she repeated, in the way someone would if you told them aliens had stolen your laundry. Her confusion filled the living room like invisible, dark energy. Josie stared at me, open-mouthed. Tyrion said you had a fight with Freya. Fight? Mom's words were growing harsher by the vowel. It wasn't a fight. And who the heck is Tyrion? My new friend, Josie said. What did you do to Freya? Nothing. I did nothing. Chantel came in and leaned against the doorframe. We were arguing and she slipped. I didn't push her or hit her. Ask her yourself. Solomon suspended me because... Because? Said Mom. I had to look away from her. I couldn't find the words. But all of a sudden they were pouring out of Mom. Because he's run out of patience, and so have I. What on earth has happened to you, Michael? Ever since this scrimmage with the dog, you've become every mother's worst nightmare. You used to be so sweet, Josie said, raising an eyebrow. In another reality, maybe. I dread to think what your father would have said. And, oh, how I would have loved to tell Mom that Dad was the reason I was putting myself through this. Dad, who seemed even more distant to me now. I glanced at Chantel, who was airily posed, there to make sure I kept my mouth shut about Amadeus Klimt and Unicorn, no doubt. How long? Mom said. How many days before you go back? 3, I mumbled. How many? Gasped Mom. 3. I just said so, didn't I? Don't you talk back at me, young man. Mom's glare became laser intense. Well, you will work, she said, poking my shoulder. You will stay in your room with your head in your textbooks, and you will demonstrate to me that you are truly sorry for the hurt and embarrassment you brought to this family. While I'm at work and Josie is at school, Chantel will bring you your meals and... Mom, be quiet. I haven't finished. You will stay up there for the whole 3 days so you know what it means to be deprived of your freedom and other comforts. And it begins right now. She pointed to the stairs. Mom, please, go, Michael. Josie made hamster hands across her mouth. This was serious stuff. Her once sweet brother was effectively under house arrest. I picked up my bag and sloped towards the door. Chantel said to Mom, The garage called. I'm going to fetch the scooter. She moved aside to let me pass. But in the moment it took me to get a waft of her scent, she got the message I was silently mouthing. We need to talk. Maybe when she brought my first bowl of porridge. In fact, Josie was the first one I saw. 2 hours had limped by and I had done precisely nothing but watch raindrops roll down my bedroom window. I was rapidly discovering that changing my reality carried its downfalls as well as its perks. Or maybe I was just feeling sorry for myself because I hadn't gotten to the root of my mission. If I couldn't solve some silly little mystery about a dog, how would I ever find my way to Dad? I was turning his paper chain of dragons through my hands when Josie knocked on the door and eased her way in. She marched across the room, stood on tiptoes so she could reach around my neck and gave me a hug. Night-night, she whispered and turned away. Jose, don't go. She paused by the door, curling and uncurling her fingers. I was guessing Mom had ordered her not to speak to me, but there had always been enough of the rebel in Josie to do what she thought was right. Mom will kill me if she finds me here. I know. I can't stay. Will you do something for me? She looked toward the landing. Please? She closed the door a little, so Mom couldn't hear. What? Talk to Freya for me. Michael? She's scared, Josie. Something's wrong about the dog. Freya says it's not hers, but talking about it turns her loopy. Not hers? But they said in the paper. I know, but Freya says different. That's what we were arguing about. She sighed and hunched her shoulders. Why would she talk to me, sister of the boy who gave her grief? I think she wants to tell someone what she knows. And what does she know? That's what I need you to find out, Sherlock. Just, be a girl. Make friends with her. Trick or treat with the goth freak? Thanks. She threw her hair behind one ear. Would, but can't. Why not? Because she's older than me? So? So she wouldn't be seen dead with a fifth grader, dimwit. I looked down at my hands and had an idea. Tell her you like dragons. Dragons? Is this a joke? Ryan says she draws them. Her face filled with disbelief. Anything that comes from Ryan Garvey's mouth came straight out of a clown manual first. Honestly, she likes them. I've seen her with the Hobbit. That's about funny little men with hairy feet, Michael. There's a dragon in it too. Just talk to her, Jose. Honestly, she's not as bad as people say. She's quite smart, actually. Oh, now I get it. You like her, don't you? She made quote marks with her fingers. What? Don't be dumb. I don't like Freya. Josie just grinned and patted her cheeks, meaning mine were glowing like coals. Where were the shadows in this room when you needed them? Look, just find out anything you can. Hambleton said she had an operation. Oh, nice topic when you finally start dating. You show me your scars and I'll show you mine. Why are you so interested anyway? In what? Freya? The dog? Any of it? I rubbed a paper dragon between my thumb and fingers. Could I afford to make Josie a part of this? Klimt's orders had been pretty clear. No mentions of unicorn to anyone. Thankfully, I was spared a decision when Chantal called out from downstairs. Josie, est-ce que tu veux un chocolat chaud ce soir? Josie immediately scampered away to the bathroom. She flushed the toilet and quickly called back. Sorry, did you ask me something? She frowned at me as she flashed past my room and hurried downstairs. And though she hadn't confirmed it either way, somehow I knew I could count on her help. I didn't see Chantal until the following morning. Mom came in briefly with a breakfast tray and repeated the terms of my imprisonment. But I was on my game by then and had school books open on the floor and on my desk. Mom said before she left, I do love you, Michael, and I always will. Please, don't test the extent of it. And that actually made me cry a little. I was still crumpling a tissue when Chantal knocked on my door and flowed into the room. She arranged herself on my battered desk chair, with one leg tucked under her. She was wearing slacks and a sloppy grey sweater, but she still looked cool and French and amazing. So, she said, gazing at my poster of a Lamborghini Gallardo. You've been a bad boy, Michael. She picked up a pencil and bridged it between her manicured fingers. Klimt will not be impressed. Is that why you're here? To tell me I'm finished? You said you wanted to talk. Here I am. Talk. The dog doesn't belong to Freya. And this is supposed to be meaningful to me? She angled her free foot into the air. Klimt told me to report everything to you. And this is all you have to tell me, that the dog does not belong to Freya. She lifted a page of my history book and let it fall like a dying swan. I have work to do. I'll return at noon, possibly with a sandwich, if your behavior is good. She stood up, and so did I. Even though I was several years younger than her, I was tall enough to block her path. She smiled, and spiraled a hand toward my face, dragging a nail slowly down my cheek. I was so tense I thought my skin would split. She said, Are you sure you want to confront me, Michael? You may have some interesting powers, but you know I could easily glamour you again. Glamour me? Wasn't that what vampires did to their victims? I felt a vein twitching in the side of my neck. It's not just the dog, there's something odd about the girl. I need Klimt's help. How do I contact him? You don't. Klimt comes to you when he's ready. Well, in case you hadn't noticed, I'm holed up in my bedroom. He's hardly gonna pop by and help me write my essay on the Civil War, is he? She glanced down at my bed, where my cell phone had beeped. You have a text. Maybe it's from her, the girl. She reached for the door handle, but I beat her to it. Tell me your story. This is not wise, Mikkel. How did you get involved with Unicorn? How long have you worked for them? Her gaze faltered for a moment, as if it would pain her to reveal the truth. That is not your concern. Who are they, Chantal? What do they do? You know what they do. They investigate mysteries. They use people like me to find the truth. Now, step away from the door, or I will hurt you. I stood aside and let her go, but not without throwing in one last question. Did you know my father? She paused and rocked back, taking time to fold her arms. No, she said quietly, and then she was gone. After a moment or two, I yanked up the phone and read the text. It wasn't from Freya. It was from Ryan Garvey. A stupid picture of me hanging from a gallows with the message, "Enjoy your suspension, loser." I threw the phone down. Not long afterward, it rang again, and rang, and rang. Unknown caller. I hit the button. Hello, Michael, said a voice. Amadeus Klimt. I did that all-in-one twisting thing and sank onto the bed, with the phone to my ear. I'm at home, I said. I couldn't think of anything else to tell him. Yes, he said in his strangely detached German accent. Chantal has been updating me. And why didn't that surprise me? Biting my tongue about all things French, I took a sharp breath and said, I tried to talk to a girl called Freya. I thought she owned the dog, but she doesn't. It all went wrong, but I'm sure she knows something. I've asked my sister to speak to her. I haven't said anything about Unicorn, I promise. Silence. I imagined him peeling another orange or picking the seeds out of a pomegranate. I rolled onto my back and let my eyes scan the ceiling. Stuck to the plaster above my bed was a rocket ship, a moon, and a flurry of stars. Dad had put them up there before I was born. After his disappearance, I used to cry myself to sleep when the lights went out, watching the pieces fluoresce in the emptiness like tiny reminders of him. It occurred to me now that it had been a long time since I'd noticed them. Klimt said, How do you plan to use your confinement? I don't know, I sighed. Please don't take me off the mission. Do you believe there is something interesting to discover, something worthy of a unicorn file? Yes! There's definitely something weird about Freya. I saw this mark on her head that came up like a bruise, but it disappeared the next time I looked at her. Can you be sure it was not a shadow? Light can be very deceptive, Michael. Now he was making me doubt what I'd seen. Perhaps it was a dirt stain, and she had rubbed it off during the walk to the office. But dirt stains didn't look red on the skin. And what was all that fuss about someone in her head? Klimt spoke again. Let these thoughts about Freya rest for now. Instead, ask yourself this. What do you most need to know about the dog? That wasn't hard to answer. The question had kept me awake all night. Who it really belongs to, I muttered. Correct, he said. Once you know that, you can widen the investigation. But I'm grounded. How? Go to your window. What do you see? Confused, I got up and parted the blinds. Chantal, I whispered. She was on the scooter, holding the floral helmet in her hand. She will take you where you need to be, Klimt said, while Mom and Josie were out of the way. A shiver of excitement thrust its way into my thumping heart. Goodbye, Michael. No more help. Mr. Klimt, wait! But the phone clicked off. and I was on my own. Chapter 10.
All right, so who is Michael? And, no, not who's Michael. Who's the owner of the dog? We can't find this out. We still don't know. Some of you might have some guesses. Legend, I know you've been listening, so maybe you have some guesses. But if anybody else other than Legend has been listening this whole time, please make sure you like the post because I'm trying to see who's been listening. And that way maybe I'll record some more chapters and send them just to those specific people and we can start a new book together. Just some ideas. So if you are listening with us and following along with us, please tell me that underneath the story. All right. Bye-bye.